Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. So this is the Dadman summary for the 20th of January. Now if I do stand a little bit like, I don't know, asleep. I did not sleep well last night. If anybody's in the UK, you'll know that last night was really very, very warm. So I'm definitely on about 30% here today. Definitely life floating in the clouds a little bit, so we'll get on with this. There's actually not that much that needs to be done here, which is always awesome. But I thought it'd be a good chance to just go over things as per usual, and get things really in motion. So what we're going to be doing then, we do have the invasion force over here. Now, it is currently unloading. I did somewhat regret having it unload, but in all honesty, it's not a bad idea. The reason why it's not a bad idea is, frankly, we don't want to be aboard ships. Because he could come in, he could potentially hit one of these ships, he could do something like that, and things could go potentially wrong. So it's always a good idea to actually have these assets actually unloaded in port. It also gives them that chance to actually rest there, which is always a good thing. I'm going to just quickly set up a few ASW task forces over here before I do forget. And the good news with these guys is we'll be able to have them go ahead out in front and actually act really in a meaningful way to actually block off enemy submarine attacks, which is going to be great. He does have a lot of subs in this area, so we do need to try to resist it as best we can, really. As best as we can. And we'll do that. But what I'm going to do then is essentially have those forces unloaded. We'll have a division rebuilt, I believe. I think it'd be easy to have a division reformed. I did contemplate keeping it separate because then it allows you to have like the separate tank force and etc. But in fairness, we are going to have the 8th Tank Regiment over here that's going to move over 2 more regiments over here to Banjmarsen. What we're going to do then is actually have the division land over here essentially. We could go with it in separate parts perhaps. Like obviously divided up, but I think it'd be fine. I think we'll go with it as is, really. We will be able to cover it pretty damn well. Like, we do have a couple zeros over here. I'm just waiting for the rest of the 3rd KUS actually to arrive in the area. Okay, they are getting that fatigue down there. Yeah, we do have G4s over here, which could be used to suppress enemy forces. I do have these Sallies over here, but trying to keep the Sallies built up. They can obviously only receive a certain amount of reinforcement every now and then. I think it's every 4 days or something of that nature. You can see these guys are taking some pounding here, but that's not too bad. We are in a good position actually at this moment in time. It is actually looking pretty encouraging for us, which is great. It's nice to be in that position. There's a whole bunch of supply here for some reason. I do not know why, as to why it's there, but fair enough. I do need to move into Manila as quickly as possible, actually. What I decided to do then is actually have these forces put back into movement mode, and we can actually make use of them. He can't attack the first turn that we actually arrive at Manila, so that's fine. So the good news is we should probably be in a position to have the majority of our forces arrive in Manila on a turn he would launch an attack anyway. Obviously, if you launch an attack, it'd be great for us, because obviously he'd be in a bad position then. But the end is going to come. The end is coming much sooner than previously thought, which is superb. So going to continue with the actual bombardment over here. I'm toying with the idea of actually keeping a little bit of shipping in this area to allow us to facilitate movements elsewhere. Though, I don't know, it might be worthwhile just to get these assets moving elsewhere, frankly. So it's an interesting one. I will need assets to move stuff south afterwards, so I guess we'll have them disband for the time being. I'm very much looking forward to when we do clear around Manila. He's got forces moving from Bataan. Whether he keeps them moving or not is going to be an interesting one. But we have like a unit over here. It's supposedly 2 units with only 2,000 men in there. It does make me wonder what it could be. I don't imagine it's going to be anything huge, which is awesome. So we'll be able to attack it there. I am contemplating potentially having the tanks on reserve. The reason why I've not done that is because I want to be in a position when I could move them into Manila if we need them to be in Manila. But essentially be able to have them as like a rapid reaction force. We'll probably have them moved over here to Manila sooner rather than later. Yeah, we do have a little bit of airfield damage here. Just need to obviously keep that increasing there. We'll have air power shifted over here to Clark shortly. The good news is that at least from San Fernando, we have access to the rail lines over here to Clark too. So that's excellent. It means that we can actually have them transferred there. Even if they are damaged, they can still be transferred to Clark. No problems. No questions asked, which is awesome. I'd like to get these guys shifted out, actually. I'm going to leave them as they are to continue bombing Manila. But we'll have them shifted out to Clark as soon as aviation arrives there in any sort of sufficient degree. Looking forward to it, frankly. Looking very much forward to it. I do have another aviation unit that has been loaded up over here. But not entirely. I don't know why. This seems to be like an odd thing that happens every now and then. Like, they don't fully load up the unit. Oh, there we go. It is actually loading it up then. Like I said, loading was complete, which is very strange. But what I'm going to do then is actually have this unit brought in down to this area. The more aviation support I can get here, the better, really. The reason being, it just keeps things flowing. I don't like that it's actually going to be there. What I can do then is actually have it moved out to... We should be okay. I'll have it moved down there to Lingayen. Should be alright. Have them moved back over to Hong Kong then. Let's see. So we are going to attack over here with the 65th Brigade. Clark, as well as the Tank Regiment attacking too. I mean, I frankly would like to have a little bit more attack, but we should be alright. Should be a very small force. Clark should be at possibly level 2 fortifications by next turn. We got to level 1 fortifications this turn. We might be at level 2 fortifications next turn, which would be nice. Just essentially turn it into gigantic fortification, which would be excellent. And this is it. He could have made things more difficult for us, but he hasn't, and he may come to regret that in time, as it gives us the ability to really move on pretty rapidly, which is awesome. Now, what I need to do here then, let's see. These guys are going to move in over here. They're going to take some supply to Palawan, as they're going to be using Palawan in the future, so having some supply in this area would be nice. But I'm going to go ahead and pick up the rest of those coins over there and have them moved out elsewhere. I do have a number of these actual APs over here, which are going to be moved out in the future. But let me see. I need to see if there's any Tohos over here that I can convert. I can't convert them here, which is a bit of a pain, but I'll convert them at Singapore in the future then, really. That'll be fine. So yeah, things are looking good. I've transferred some of the Dinas over here to Bangkok to rest, just to reduce the amount of load over here at Port Blair. Something that I have found out, but I'll talk about that in the near future. But anyhow, we're going to stop building the airfield over here. I'm going to stop temporarily. I'm going to temporarily stop building the airfield here. The reason being is it is stopping supply heading that way, because we do have quite a lot of supply being used up in Chiang Mai, and obviously over here as well. So I do need that supply to try to move out as best as it can to this area. I contemplated actually potentially having a lot of these forces march off from Georgetown onto the rail line once again, and actually be railed north. And I thought, well, I could do that, but then it's going to take them a very long time to march over that way. I might as well just have them shifted out by an amphibious movement to a base like here, and they can actually march up on major road, perhaps, to the north there, which is useful. We might even be able to potentially have them landed over here at Pegu, depending on the situation. I think we could suppress Rangoon. It'd be difficult, but we'd have to watch out for like PT boats and stuff like that. But I think we could potentially do it. Or I could even have them potentially land over here at Mulmian, or something of that nature. But over here is like a safer option. It does take those spaces because we do need to capture them. But it's a couple of options there. I'm moving these AVs to Babaldoir for the time being. The reason being, I want to get more AV over here at Babaldoir to actually maintain and more importantly, repair aircraft very quickly. I do have the Tainan KUS over here. Now, currently, they're not doing jack. And the reason why they're not doing jack is because I want to have them repaired. I want to have them drop as much fatigue as possible, really, on the pilots and the actual aircraft themselves. Not entirely sure where they want to go as of yet. It does not seem like he's heading towards this area, which is good. I do have a lot of submarines actually that will be shifted to that area there. So it's good to have a lot of submarines in that area, just to make sure he doesn't move through there. We might take more pot shots at Darwin in the future, but I do have mountain system damage over here. So the destroyers like the Amasukazi, she's going to be heading to Surabaya once we capture it, and she can undergo some repairs there. We need to really maintain the standing of our naval forces, really, which is it's a very delicate task, because it's one of those of, well, you are taking a destroyer away from the front lines, potentially, but you've got to do it. The good news is we will have more patrol boats in the future in better places as well to actually take over their sort of duties. So that should make things significantly easier. Now then over here, the 2nd Regiment has arrived. Yokosuka 4th SLF is in position. I do have more AA over here, which is great. Like, we have an AA regiment, we have 2 AA battalions. That's a lot of AA. This guy will be unloaded properly tomorrow. But that's quite a lot of flak over here. He might be doing it to try and draw us away, but in all fairness, it's not too bad to actually have said flak here. The reason being it just helps protect us. Now, I don't know if... I mean, I talked about whether it's worthwhile building fortifications or not. It probably isn't. Probably not, so I'm going to cancel it. Level 1's okay, I guess. I don't know, it's one of those, we're not going to be holding out here anyway. Maybe a little bit of fortification's not too bad, I guess. But what we'll be doing in the near future then is we could, if the supply was to be increased over here, we could potentially use barges to move across, but we'll have ships move down to this area shortly. What I want to do then, I mean, we could do that sooner rather than later, but what I'm going to do then is once these forces start moving up this way, we'll have ships move down this way. I want to try and go as long as I can before I actually have ships exposed to danger, essentially. Going like that. Now, I have done something over here which is pretty fantastic. I did take the 6G NAF, and I actually did pay for it to be put under the control of the 11th Air Flotilla. Now, what that allows us to do is, so for example, we have Bernardo over here, which is attached to 7th Army. I could actually have that attached to General Defense Army. It costs me 50 points, but that means we can actually have bases changed hands. But what I'm going to do then is actually have that 6G NAF going move over here to capture this base over here, and then I'll use it to capture all the bases over here. What we'll then do is we'll have the 23rd Air Flotilla, or potentially a larger aviation headquarters actually moved over here, and then we'll build this area up. I've got construction units being loaded up at BLeAcHACiD, and we're going to have them shifted down to that area. Essentially, we're going to have a major effort put in place to actually build up the Timor area, build up obviously the area over here in the Solomon Sea. We'll call that the Solomon Sea area, then we'll shift further down south. So that's going to be something we can do. Now, I haven't done it, but I can do it if I wanted to. The beauty is I could have this actually changed over to General Defense Army. I took a construction unit and paid 9 points, and then it allows me to actually change the space over to General Defense Army. So the awesome news about that is we can actually have General Defense assets used across the Empire significantly easier than before. It would just cost us a little bit of political points. It'd be far easier to actually capture bases rather than have to pay, of course. But it would be fantastic. It would be absolutely amazing to have that as a ability there, like a really just fantastic ability. It would actually give us a tremendous advantage at being able to actually bring them into the fight elsewhere, really. So that would be pretty cool. Okay. So these submarines, the rowboats, are going to be brought back to Rabal, because I am running a little bit low on endurance on those guys. I do have fuel moving into Rabal this turn. I'm going to actually have this guy be... well, what I could do here then is have you actually... I'm going to have you actually head over here to Rabal. I'll have them follow. As to whether they can catch up, I do not know. I don't know, then again, we might as well have them just follow that group. They're not going to move fast enough anyway, so if I can just have them follow them, then at least they'll have a little bit of ASW in that area, so it's the best I can do, really. I've turned naval attack off on these guys. I set up cap on the actual fighters and etc. The G3s will be running a naval search. The base isn't ready yet, but it will be ready in the near future. The engineers are obviously having their disruption fatigue removed pretty quickly, so we're looking good there. Yeah, it's not that long. Oh, I'm going to have the Kinabatai head directly to truck. I think it's far more worthwhile. I'm going to have these AKs brought over here to Rabal. We do see his position down here with some assets here. It suggests that he's actually heading towards like Brisbane or like Sydney. Sydney being more likely, I'd imagine. So, we take his position here. He's 15 from Tulagi, 21 from Shortlands, 27 from Rabal, and 26 from Leh. So, and of course we do have the haste escape force in great abundance in this area. So if he does return to the area, we'll know he's coming. Now, truck is... about 17 away from Rabaul. So this is it. It doesn't take us long to actually get down to that area, and we can actually have the Kitabatai maintained and obviously undergo repairs while we see what happens, and that works fine for us. We're also going to have... Well, we're going to be using a Kargi to go and resize a lot of different assets. There's a lot that we're going to be doing there. I think something that we will do is... possibly in the future, we might bring, like, Shoho, use Shoho and Karga, perhaps in a task force together, to actually escort a invasion of Wake. And what might be good about that is potentially do a similar... Well, try and set up a similar sort of situation of where he sees elements of the Kitabatai committed elsewhere, but he might get... he might be funny with his carriers. Personally, I think what he's going to do is leave the Coral Sea and head into the Pacific. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, we do need to build up the Marshall Islands to a good degree. We have the airfields there. We just need to actually have the ability to have torpedoes in multiple bases. I mean, something like that might be viable. There's no port here, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. Let's see. I might not even need to bother that. I was thinking if I had something like with 4 or 5 command radius, we could probably do a good job. If I had something based there, I mean, if I could actually get the aviation headquarters there, like an air fleet or something, it would allow us to make use of all these islands. But it's one of those, is it worthwhile? Probably not. I mean, yeah. Even with the actual air flotilla here, it's got a command radius of 1. It still allows us to use about 3 bases there. That cannot have an airfield, which is a shame. So I can use at least 2 bases. They're fairly well protected as far as it goes. The coral reefs really do protect them in a really nice way. So it's probably the best we're going to get there. I'm going to have this moved out to Toangi so I can actually go ahead and get like an AV or like an aviation corvette in the future. An AV would probably be really handy. Well, would be probably very handy just because it's very mobile. But like an aviation car would be even easier. So that'd be great. We're going to go ahead and build up Paramashiro-jima for the time being. There is like a cold zone over here. I think the... I can't recall when the actual winter ends, but essentially it takes twice as long to build things up. We might actually still go in here anyhow. A little bit earlier, a little bit ahead of time, really. But we'll see, we'll see. Let's see. Right. I need to get a bunch of APs, or just anything that can move stuff quickly down to... truck. Looks like I don't have really anything for that over here. We've got some 14 knotters, but that's not particularly great. Okay, in all honesty, they're better off just staying aboard than being moved out. Oh god, here, Venamobi. Okay. Have you added there? Okay. I'm gonna get them moved out. Though saying that, do I want to keep a regiment out here? It might be worthwhile to actually have the regiment out here. Actually, bugger it, we'll have the regiment on load. I'd like to have a division actually formed up over here, but I can do that in the near future. And in all fairness, it'd be more efficient to actually bring like some APs that have like really great speed, and you know, just have that sort of efficiency when it comes to like movement of troops across the large, well, to the far off areas. There we go, far off areas. Yeah, we're getting there. We've had some defeats, really. We unfortunately had to scuttle the Nagano, which sucked. We had Kagiro, unfortunately, go down to fires. So yeah, we are taking losses. It does suck. We have the destroys been accelerated. We have taken some pretty sufficient beating so far. The good news is, well, we're kind of at a point now where we should, once Rabaul and obviously that area is built up, and obviously the other area is built up, where we should be able to mitigate the amount of naval losses we take, because we actually will have the ability to defend ourselves as such, which would be quite good. He came close to having Enterprise being torpedoed. Had we had the hindsight, obviously, to know Rabaul was going to be targeted, then I could have built up LeACHACiD. Obviously, in future games, what we'll do even is build Kaviang up. We'll build these bases up pretty much immediately. And this is it. I'm very much looking forward to the future play-by emails, because this is it. We know then what to do, and that is to get a number of air bases set up immediately. But we've also found out that naval HQs, like these guys over here, can be used as command HQs, which is awesome. Like, I didn't know about 7 Armor being able to do that, just command HQs in general being able to do that, so that's pretty good. We are going to be launching a attack over here at Singapore. Imperial Guard has about 33 fatigue, 22 there. 33 is not too bad. I would prefer it to be less, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and go with it. We have 1,149. We may take it today. It depends. Myself and Infinite Monkey, we were looking through the past battle reports, and it just seems like we've been screwed on the actual dice roll. Like, we've always had between, like, 500, and the best assault, like, the best adjusted assault value we ever got was 1,190. And it's like, you can see that at Clark we had 3,000, so we've been kind of screwed on the rolls. It's like, the closest we came to taking Singapore was, well, in terms of assault, adjusted assault, was on the 10th of January. Like, if we'd actually got enough AV, we could have had this, we could have had Singapore 10 days ago, which would have been a hell of a lot better. Or even earlier than that, really. But we've learned lessons. Frankly, we're going well enough. We're going well enough. Over here in China is looking good. I do have a number of divisions moving on here towards Nanyang. I'm going to have a couple of divisions move up this way. Probably have the armor move back around here, or even potentially use it elsewhere. Just try to savage the Chinese army as much as we can in a short period of time and really cause some instability there if we can. I'm going to wait for the division to arrive over here, then we're going to cross over here with like 1,400 or so AV. Or 1,200 something. I think it's about 1,200 AV. We'll be able to cross there with shock attack the hell out of that unit, and then march on over here. Use the armored car company to just move on here to try and just devour the miles. Yeah, I think we will get Xi'an, which would be amazing. I think what we'd do then is we'd have Xi'an actually... I mean, Chongqing would be brilliant, don't get me wrong, it'd be very nice from a VP point of view. But I don't think we'll be able to get into Chongqing. I think obviously he would resist that quite well. What I would rather do though is actually march over here. Secure like Lanchao. Yeah, Langchao, and then over here far in the north, Urumqi, where we actually do have oil refineries. Yeah, securing all this would not be a bad idea. You can see that we do have some resources out here. We do have resources over here in like actual light industry, which is nice. But yeah, you can see that 91 oil, that 91 refinery, that'd go very well for us. It'd be very good to actually have, because that would be just additional oil and fuel that would be available across the Empire. Well, it'd be able to make its way ultimately over to Japan, which would be excellent. But yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. That music sounds a little bit loud. It's freaking awesome. A little bit loud. So yeah, we're looking pretty good there. There might have been some things that potentially happened missed, but I think we're looking pretty good. We're going to continue to march on to Manila. Continue to march, attack at Singapore. And ideally we take it next turn. If we could have Singapore next turn, that'd be fantastic. We'd be able to get the DMSs moving in there pretty damn quick. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I'm somewhat tempted to actually have the DMSs moved out ahead of time. But we'll wait. I don't want to have them just lingering around when they might be potentially attacked by aircraft or potentially PT boats or something or other. We'll have it moved in when they need to be moved in. But Singapore's not going to last long. I think if it's not this attack, I think it'll probably be next attack. I think if I'm correct, we should be attacking Singapore with 0 fortifications this turn. We should have a good result. If we don't take it this turn, I think we could probably go for a shock attack on the next attack, and I think that would pretty much take it there. So that'd be pretty cool. So there we go. Now what do we call this? Nothing up fuzzball. Let's say onto Bataan. We'll call it the Luzon debacle then. There we go. Thank you for watching that, ladies and gentlemen. Tenno Heiko Vanzai. And, you know what? I'm gonna have to ask this. Times are gonna be rough for everybody in the future. I was hoping that I would be able to find employment before university and during university, but that appears to be quite hard. So, I'm not gonna ask you guys for much, but if you guys could find it in your hearts to potentially pledge just $1 a month on Patreon, that would be amazing. It would definitely make all the hours of content well worthwhile. And the truth is, it's like, looking last night, the sort of like advertisement rate that I do get for these YouTube videos, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm like, you don't owe me anything. This is obviously something if you guys want to support me as a content creator. But essentially, I think I was looking at it last night, and it was actually a pretty good night for it, really. But like, for every 1,000 monetized views, I was getting like about 37 pence. I might not have understood that correctly, but that was like a really high rate, but you can imagine, if one person donates $1 every month, that's equivalent to like 3,000 plus views or something like that. It does make a tremendous difference. So if you guys can find in your heart to just donate $1 a month, that would be astronomically better than just the advertisement rate. It sounds awful, but the reason why I'm asking this is, as I will be attending university this year, I don't want to be in a position where I'm having to choose between, like, obviously continuing these series. Obviously they would continue, but probably a much lower rate. And obviously having to go out and find like any sort of job, and who knows what the hours could be, really. I do love doing this as a hobby. I'd love to do this as something more than a hobby. And what I mean by that is, I mean something that is actually meaningful, really. I've got a few ideas. A few people have suggested a few ideas as well for what could be done in the future. And I'd like to do something like that. The crazy thing about this is, I don't do anything particularly special. I don't do anything particularly well. I don't even do things very professionally either, really. But I'd like to think you guys are here because I don't know. I just have that passion to just do it, which is always fun. Everybody likes another dog, right? But I'd like to one day make something that, you know, I'd be like, I made that. I'm proud of that. That actually helped somebody learn something. So I'd like to do something like that in the future. But that's going to need the time. Anyhow, I'm going to stop badgering on. I'm going to stop begging here. This is essentially begging. And I'm going to say goodbye. So, Tanaheka Banzai. I shall see you guys in the next episode. Sayonara. Jane. Goodbye from BLeAcHACiD. Have a great day. And an even better evening. Make sure you look after your loved ones and look after yourself. Goodbye for now.